Sex hormones in men. We men have the same hormones as women do, but in different ratios. And as we measure and look at optimized function, we're often measuring the same hormones and shooting for optimal ranges. I find it interesting that when I look at testosterone levels in a lab like Quest, and I look at a total testosterone, we have a range ranging from 250 to 1100. And so there's quite a broad range to play with, in a sense. And we want to put on the glasses of optimal, of wellness, not just we're going to address hormones only when they're off the chart. I've had men come to the office with complaints of being tired, lethargic, depressed, not being able to get erections, not being interested in sex, who had I remember one fellow who had a testosterone level of 251, and he was told it was normal because he was within the normal range. And so we want to make sure that we listen to the person, that we look at their lifestyle. Were they someone who hunted, who traveled, who took risks, who's entrepreneurial, who perhaps, based on their history, had a higher range of testosterone throughout their life, and maybe their optimal is not a 400, maybe their optimal is a 900, and so we're still playing within normal. We're not inappropriately raising testosterone above physiologic ranges, but we're focusing on the person and their improved function. So when we measure testosterone in men, it's important that we look at total and free testosterone. Total testosterone includes the testosterone that's bound to proteins, and it's often not available for use, much like a CD in a savings account. You have the money, but you can't access it today if you want to buy something. Free testosterone is like the checking account. It's the one that's free and available for use right now, and it's important to look at both of those. Some men will have a normal total testosterone, but will actually be low when you look at free testosterone. It's important that we look at estradiol levels because we have enzymes that will aromatize or convert our testosterone into estrogens. And if we're making testosterone but then converting it into a lot of estrogen, we can gain weight in the middle, we can have prostate issues, and so anytime we look at testosterone, we should look at estrogen. Many times we also look at dihydrotestosterone because it's another metabolite of testosterone. It's part of what causes male pattern baldness if it's too high, and so we want to make sure we're not over-converting our testosterone into dihydrotestosterone. DHT, or dihydrotestosterone, is important in that it's part of what causes secondary male characteristics in a teenager. So it deepens the voice, it causes facial hair. So it's a lot of what makes a man, and it's an important hormone, and it's often also ignored. Once we've measured testosterone, estradiol, DHT, and we look at optimal function, we look at treatment strategies. In a young man, many times I find that there are nutritional issues that when we correct nutrition, we're able actually to produce more testosterone and eventually have great levels, maybe even without supplementation, but they're not mutually exclusive, and many times we will start hormone replacement or testosterone replacement while we optimize nutrition, while we detoxify, while we work on wellness and prevention. And as we follow up levels, we may find ourselves decreasing our testosterone dosages because the person can do it on their own, and that's always gratifying. When we look at testosterone replacement, we have really two healthy approaches. We can't, or we don't use oral testosterone because of that whole liver first pass effect. It's hard on the liver, it raises clotting factors, and it's not a healthy approach. So we can use transdermal testosterones, as in a testosterone cream. There's some pharmaceutical versions available that are testosterone gels, but I love the fact that we can compound the testosterone, and I find that it's much cheaper than the pharmaceutical options, and we can customize it to the person to get optimal levels. One of the downsides of hormone creams is that we need to be careful about transference. If we have small children, we need to make sure that it's been absorbed properly, that our hands are washed, that we're not going to pick up our young child and throw off their hormone levels because we still have testosterone in our hands. Another potential pitfall is absorption issues. Sometimes we may not absorb our testosterone, so it's important to follow up with labs and ascertain within 4 or 6 weeks that we've actually reached the levels that we were shooting for. And lastly, it's important to make sure that we're not bumping up our estrogen levels as we raise testosterone, and as back to labs and looking for those optimal ratios. Another alternative in terms of hormone replacement for men is injections. Many times we instruct the man how to inject testosterone, and we use testosterone formulations like testosterone cypionate, With injections, we may do an injection every 7 to 10 days. Yes, we get some increase at first and some decline, but by using the shots every 7 to 10 days, we prevent the ups and downs, and we often get a very effective levels. And many times I find that injections, or for most men, injections actually feel better in terms of levels. There's less chance of aromatizing it or converting it into estrogens, and we don't have the issues of transference and in terms of contacting a partner or a child with testosterone that's still in the skin. And lastly, there are pellets. Testosterone can be used in the form of a pellet under the skin. Some of the pellets, most of the time we would start somebody with a cream or injections, and if we want to, once we figure out what's an optimal dose, then often you can use something like a pellet that may be done every 3 to 4 months. It's still under the skin, it's still released slowly, and it's still very effective, just like any one of, whether it's creams, injections, or pellets.